What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So let's start off with the national championship from Monday, 2 days ago. The Indiana Hoosiers, number one team in the country, defeat number 10 Miami 27-21. They are your 2025 national champions. Curt Cignetti has done it. 2 years ago, he took the Indiana head coach position, took over what was the worst college football program in America, and within 2 years, they are your undefeated national champions.
They hand it off to the fullback / tight end, and he powers in. Touchdown, Indiana. Here against Notre Dame in the opener. That was from 47. This is from 50. And it doinks off the right upright. That's the second time he's doinked one in the CFP. Gain anytime. Great job corralling number 10, not letting him get loose. Fletcher breaks free. Mark Fletcher in the foot race. Miami touchdown. So Dylan Joyce back on. Blocked! Indiana blocks the punt and falls on it for a touchdown. 7-0 lineman and a tight end. Fletcher walks in. Miami touchdown. Get to the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and goal. Diving toward the end zone. Touchdown! He's got it on the pitch. Tony breaks free. Malachi Tony spinning, scoring! Field goal knocked right through. So Indiana took 4:50 off the clock. Beck steps up, delivers downfield, intercepted! Jamari Sharp makes the pick that will clinch Indiana's first national championship.
So highlight of the show, let's break it down. Started off in the second quarter with about a little over 6 minutes left. Indiana up 3-0. Third and goal from the 1-yard line. They give it to the fullback for a touchdown. Puts them up 10-0. Fast forwarding. Very end of the half. Last 40 seconds. Carter Davis, Miami's kicker, has made some big kicks in this playoff. He's missed a bunch as well. Misses from 50 yards out as he clanks it off the right upright. So it remains 10-0 Indiana going into the second half, but very early third quarter, about a little under 4 minutes in, Mark Fletcher, Miami's star running back, takes it 50-plus yards for a touchdown. Miami on the board, 10-7. But 5 minutes ago, third quarter, Indiana blocks a punt near their own end zone, recover it for a touchdown. A huge special teams play for the Hoosiers. Go up 17-7 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. But Miami will get the ball back. Long drive would culminate on the first play of the fourth quarter. Again, Mark Fletcher from a couple yards out on 3rd and 1, touchdown. Makes it 17-14 Indiana, so Miami not going away. The very next drive, great play by Mendoza on 4th and 5 in the red zone. Gutsy call by Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers. What a play by Mendoza. Keep in mind, this is a guy who won the Heisman, is going into the draft. It's expected to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and he put his body on the line like that. What a guy, what a player. The two people that my highlight cut to right after the touchdown, that is his parents. And that would lead us a little bit later in the quarter, about 6:40 to go. It would be Malachi Tony with a big run. Breaks a couple tackles, touchdown. That was 24-21 Indiana. Indiana would kick a 35-yard field goal with a minute 43 to go, minute 42 or so to go. That was a tough ending to that drive. They had, I think, 2nd and 1, and then they jumped off sides. The full start on the left tackle for 2 minutes. As disciplined as any in the country. You know, one of the best offensive lines in the country. And that left tackle, I think, is probably heading to the league. Made it 2nd and 6, and then they ended up getting stopped on 2 straight run plays. Also didn't want to pass the ball to God forbid they end up stopping the clock. You want to have Miami use all of their timeouts. I got to think Cignetti at least thought about 3rd and 6 passing the ball. When they got no gain on the run play on 2nd and 6, you got to think he thought about pass the ball, screw it. You don't even need a touchdown. You get a first down and end the game, but took the safe route. You take the field goal, up by 6. Fast forward, about 50 seconds left from Indiana's 40-yard line. So Carson Beck picked off The Indiana Hoosiers win the national championship. We actually got a smile out of Kurt Signetti after the game. I gotta say, Carson Beck, I hope that guy has no success in the NFL. That guy is such an asshole. The way he carries himself, walk the field, not shaking hands with Mendoza. What a absolute bitch. The guy played college football for 1,000 years. He graduated 2 years ago from Georgia. Now he's playing at Miami, and he blows. Okay? I said this whole playoff, if you make Carson Beck beat you, he won't. Okay? This whole playoff, his numbers look pretty good. He played very well in that Ole Miss game. I'll give him that, the game-winning rush touchdown. But he leaned on his running game, his offensive line, his defense, his whole playoff. He was terrible in the game against in the first round game against A&M. Oklahoma was just not Oklahoma. A&M was just so bad that they kind of handed Miami that game. Even against Ohio State, he threw the ball less than 30 times, like 150 or 130 yards. The defense just completely punched Ohio State in the mouth. And Julian Sayin had a bunch of bad turnovers. And somebody found he played well against Ole Miss. One, Ole Miss does not have a good defense. And two, again, a lot of that was still the running game was a lot of that. He had some big throws. I'll give him that. The touchdown at the end of the game. But against Indiana, he did nothing. The first half, I think Miami had the least amount of yards in the first half of the national championship game ever in the first half. And again, he leaned on the running game, and when it mattered most, he threw a god-awful interception in the last minute of the game, trying to score a touchdown to steal the national championship. And I love how we all knew how it was going to happen. So many people on Twitter, after Indiana kicked that field goal, were like, yeah, this is about to be a Carson Beck interception, and he's going to walk off the field a loser. And look what happened. The guy is a complete loser. If I'm an NFL GM, I would stay away from that guy. I wouldn't even draft the guy. He's not good, not a leader, does not make your team better by any means. But congratulations to Indiana. Kurt Signetti has administered the greatest comeback in the history of sports. So congratulations to him and Mendoza and the whole group at Indiana. By the way, Mendoza's brother, Alberto Mendoza, is their backup. He has transferred to Georgia Tech. I think that's a good spot for him. Georgia Tech's quarterback, Haynes King, is going to be going into the draft. They've had a really solid couple of years there here these last few seasons. At one point, we thought they might win the ACC this year. It didn't end up happening. Still a good season. They went 9-3. They were one of the best teams in the ACC, and they're in a good spot going forward with Brent Key. And I think he'll be there's a chance for Alberto Mendoza to kind of show everybody what he's all about. Obviously, didn't get to see him this year because his older brother Fernando Mendoza was so good after starting quarterback. And Indiana already brought in Josh Hoover from TCU, who's a talented quarterback, and I think they'll have a lot of success with him next season. Moving on, let's talk some baseball. The Mets make a trade last night. They acquire center fielder Luis Robert from the Chicago White Sox. They send young infielder Luis Angel Acuna and a very young pitching prospect, Truman Pauly, to the Chicago White Sox. I think this is a good move for the Mets. Robert has actually had a bit of a weird career. He was one of the top prospects in all baseball prior to the 2020 season. In the pandemic year, he was the runner-up in the Rookie of the Year voting, won a Gold Glove when he hit 230, 11 homers, 30 RBIs. It was the pandemic year. Trevor Bauer won the Cy Young that year. That's all you need. That's all you need to know. But was a lightning prospect. Got a huge 7 or 8 year contract worth over $10 million a year, which is a lot for a guy who's never played baseball in the major league before he even stepped onto the ball field. He had a huge year. First couple years were very injury plagued. Stayed healthy in 2023, which is his best season. Was a all-star and a Silver Slugger. In 2023, 145 games, he hit 264, 38 home runs, 80 RBIs. He had a 5.42 slugging and 857 OPS. He has struggled over the last 2 years, has had injuries. He's missed a good amount of time, over 100 games missed over the last 2 seasons, 100, 110 games, respectively, the last 2 years. In 24, in 100 games, he hit just 224, 14 homers, 35 RBIs, with 657 OPS. And last year, Hit 223, 14 homers, 53 RBI with a 661 OPS in 110 games. Not much better. However, this guy is an excellent defender in center field. He's got great speed. He has 20 or more steals in 3 straight seasons, had 33 steals last year. Matt Martino loves to steal base, so I think he's a very good fit in Queens. He's still only going to be 28 years old. He's due about $22 million next year. Mets will pay the whole salary. And then he has a $20 million club option. So after the year, if it goes well, they can exercise him and bring him back for $20 million in 2027. If not, they can buy him out for a few million and cut their losses without much trouble. I think it's a good pickup for the Mets. He won't have to be the best hitter in the lineup like he was expected to be for the White Sox. That's the kind of player he is. He'll be able to hit sixth, seventh in that order. Even right now with the lineup still kind of not, I don't think, a finished product. We'll see what else happens. But if nothing else, he'll be a very good defender in center field. He'll give you more than Tyrone Taylor would in center field. I wonder if what that means, for the rest of the outfield. Does Tyrone Taylor start in left field? Do they give Carson Bench a shot? Do they go out and bring in somebody else? But I think this is a good move. Luis Angel Acuna last year, he was the top prospect they acquired in the Max Scherzer trade a couple of years ago from Texas. He played a bunch last year. Great defender at second base and shortstop. Can also play third and center field. Very good speed, can steal a base, but right now his bat is a negative. He hit in the minor leagues. Maybe his bat catches up. But right now he's a defense first guy with no bat. He was down the stretch was a defensive replacement for the Mets. Made it open to the roster because of injuries to some of their infielders, like obviously Nick Martigral blew out his shoulder in spring training. McNeil hurt to start the year last year, so he made the roster. Summertime gets sent down when he wasn't hitting. Came back later in the season as a defensive replacement / pinch runner, and played his role well. But he's a young player. You want him to play and have a good chance to play with the White Sox. However, he was very expendable because of the additions of Marcus Semien and Bo Bichette and Jorge Polanco to the Mets infield, joining obviously Francisco Lindor, Brett Beatty, and all the young infielders they have over there already. And then Truman Pauly, I had never even heard of this guy. He was drafted not too long ago, 12th round pick last year out of Harvard. I don't even know Harvard plays baseball. Last year, he made only 3 starts in low A ball in St. Lucie for the Mets, so don't really know what he is. Only going to be 22 years old. So for the White Sox, kind of a salary dump. You get rid of a $22 million. Maybe you can put that into the team somewhere. But I think Acuna is an enticing piece for you to get back. It's something. And then who knows what this kid Pauly turns into. Maybe he turns into a frontline arm for you in 3 or 4 years. And maybe he never gets to the majors. Who knows? But I think this is a good trade for the Mets. And for the White Sox, he needed to change of scenery. I've been saying for a couple of years, if I change his scenery, he can bounce back and improve at the plate and be a potential all-star caliber player that he was a few years ago. So Luis Robert goes to the Mets. I just received word, actually, that the Yankees have re-signed Cody Bellinger. It is 5 years, $162.5 million. I think this is a great signing for both sides. Bellinger last year with the Yankees was great. 29 home runs, 98 RBI, was very good in the outfield. Can also play first base. They've been going back and forth for a while. They offered him 5 years, but $160 million. And he wanted a 7-year deal. Yankees say, we're not moving off his offer. If it means we lose him, we lose him. But I guess no one else wanted to give him that deal. So he eventually said, you know what? This is the best I'm going to get. I'm going to be 31 years old next year. I will take the deal. So it's 5 years, $162.5 million. I think that comes to about like $32.1 million per season, $32.5 million per season. I think this is a very fair deal for both sides. His pay bonus will be 35 or 36, over $30 million a year. Cody Bellinger gets his long-term deal as he reunites with the New York Yankees in the Bronx. And MLB Hall of Fame was named last night. Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones were elected to the MLB Hall of Fame. I think both guys are very deserving. Beltran, he had a role in the sign-stealing scandal in the 2017 Astros. I don't think that should undo his whole career, though. He played 20 years in the big leagues, the first 19 years. It shouldn't undo all of that for his career. 279 hitter, 435 career home runs, over 1,500, almost 1,600 RBIs, over 300 steals, 350 career on base, 837 career OPS. Was Rookie of the Year with Kansas City in 1999. He was a 9-time All-Star, did won a ring with the Astros, however much weight that holds. Won 3 Gold Gloves, won 2 Silver Slugger, was also a Roberto Clemente Award winner. Started his career in Kansas City, where he was Rookie of the Year. Was there from his first full year was 1999. He played 14 games in 98 for them. Was traded to the Astros mid-season in 2004. Then signed a big free agent contract with the New York Mets. In 2005, he was there until he was traded middle of the season in 2011 to the San Francisco Giants. Ended up signing a multi-year contract with the St. Louis Cardinals. Was there in 2012 and 2013. Played for the Yankees in 2014, 2015. Was traded to Texas mid-season 2016. And his final season he spent in Houston in 2017. His best run, his rookie season in 99, hit 293, 22 homers, 108 RBIs. And for a few years there was absolutely fantastic. In 01, he had 306, 24, and 101. In 02 with Kansas City, played all 162 games, 273, 29, 105 in 03. 307, 26, and 100 in 04. Between Kansas City and Houston, 267, 38, and 104. Then with the Mets, he was always great. Injuries bit him a little bit, but for the most part, was outstanding. 6 with the Mets when they went to the NLCS, 275, 41, 116. 07, 276, 33, 112 in 08. 284, 27, and 112. Even at the back end of his career in 2012 with the Cardinals at 35, he hit 269, 32, and 97. In 2013, at 36 with the Cardinals, hit 296, 24, and 84. Even with the Yankees, between Yankees and Texas in 2016, at 39 years old, he hit 295, 29 home runs, and 93 RBIs. Just an incredible player. One of the few guys to have 400 home runs and 300 career steals, Gold Glove center field, and Rookie of the Year champion. To me, honestly, should have gotten in a little bit sooner. And then Andrew Jones is a guy who definitely should have got in sooner. Played 17 seasons in the big leagues, one of the greatest center fielders to ever play the game. He was a 10-time Gold Glove Award winner in center field, a 5-time All-Star, former Silver Slugger as well. And he had a bat as well. 254 career hitter, 434 career home runs, 1,289 career RBIs, 823 career OPS. His best ever season was in 2005 with the Braves. Spent most of his time with the Braves from 1997 until 2007. 2005, he hit 263, 51 home runs, 128 RBIs. Both marks led the league, 922 OPS. He had a bunch of great years as well. This is what he did from 98 until about season. In 98, so with the Braves, 321, 31, and 90. In 99, 275, he had 26 and 84. In 2000, 303, 36 and 104. 251, 34 and 104 in 01 and 02. He hit 264, 35 and 94 in 03. He hit 277, 36 and 116. 04, 261, had 29 and 91. Had the crazy year in 05 and 06, hit 262, 41 and 129. Even in 2007, when he was 30, his decline came pretty rapidly. But like in 2006, he still had, in 2007, even though he only hit 220, he still had 26 home runs, 94 RBIs. Was hurt his last 5 years in the league. But still, he hit 17 home runs in 09. He hit 19 in 2010. His last 2 years were with the Yankees in 11 and 12. Fall off at the end was sharp, but I still think he had a Hall of Fame career. One of the greatest defensive center fielders of all time. And he had at least 30 homers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Had over 40 homers twice. Had a 50 homer season under his belt, over 100 RBIs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I think definitely deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. So before we go into the NFL coaching stuff, there was one more detail from the Cody Bellinger contract that I did not see at first. It's literally just breaking as I'm recording this. It's about 1:45 in the afternoon when I'm recording this. I know it's about 5 o'clock when you guys are watching this, Eastern time, in the evening. But Bellinger has two opt-outs in his contract. He also got a $20 million signing bonus as well as a full no trade clause. He has opt-outs after the second and third season. Remember, we may have a strike in 2027. So my guess is if we play in 2027, he opts out after 27 probably. If not, after we resume baseball in 2028, there will be an opt-out of opportunity for him. So Bellinger has two opt-outs in the deal. But no deferred money, which is a good sign for the Yankees, and also a no trade clause. So I think it's a perfect deal for both sides, for the Yankees and for Cody Bellinger. He fits very well in the Bronx. Whoever didn't play well in the playoffs, for now have the same team as they did last year. They lost pretty brutally in the second round of the playoffs, but still some off season left to go. But let's talk about the NFL coaching circle. Bunch of coordinators were hired. We had some head coach hires I want to talk about. So the Chiefs have reunited with Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. He was their OC for a bunch of years before he ended up leaving to be the Commanders OC for a year. That didn't work out. They kind of bounced around the league. Was the running backs coach for the Bears this season. He reunited with the Chiefs as their offensive coordinator as Matt Nagy's contract is up. Plus, he was doing some head coach interviews. No one wanted him because he's Matt Nagy. Bieniemy, he's where he fits. It was never a fit in Washington. No, he went and coached the high school team as an OC. That was just weird. He's the Bears running backs coach. He's good. He works in Kansas City. He works very well with Patrick Mahomes. I think it's a fine hire for them. He's a better offensive coordinator than Matt Nagy, nothing else. The Lions hired Drew Petzing as their offensive coordinator. So they were pretty mixed reviews about this. Some people like it, some people didn't. I don't think this is the best candidate out there for them. I know they were looking at Mike McDaniel. He's definitely not as good of a candidate as Mike McDaniel for an offensive coordinator position. I really thought this probably should have been a better hire, like a bigger name. That being said, this kind of gives me the vibe for when Jeff Hafley took the defensive coordinator position with Green Bay. More on him very shortly. But when the Packers fired Joe Barry a couple of years ago as their defensive coordinator, he obviously got a lot of flack for the not so good job he did in Green Bay as their defensive coordinator. We were thinking it's got to be a big name, like it's got to be a bigger name, like that's what needs to happen. Then you're like Jeff Hafley, who was just fired by Boston College as their head coach, who was briefly a DB's coach in the NFL, never been a defensive coordinator in the NFL. It's like, really? However, it ended up working out because he's done a very good job. And this kind of gives that same energy. Like, all right, he was the offensive coordinator for 3 years in Arizona. Didn't go so well in Arizona. However, he's going to have a much better offense to work with. Jared Goff is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray. He's got some better weapons to work with. See, Dan Campbell standing next to him is better than Jonathan Gannon standing next to you on the sideline. I think it's a better situation for him. I think this is a decent hire. There are better candidates out there. Like I said, they interviewed by Mike McDaniel. I'm not sure why they weren't interested in him. Not sure why it wasn't a fit. If the only thing I can think of is I think Dan Campbell, although he's not going to be calling the plays, he still wants to control the offense. To hire Mike McDaniel, a really bright guy like that, he's going to want a decent amount of control of that offense. That's only fair. And I just don't think Campbell's willing to relinquish control of the offense. So he brought a guy in Petzing, who's lesser known, younger guy. Also, a guy like McDaniel, he's also getting some head coach looks. Petzing obviously isn't. So Drew Petzing is the new offensive coordinator. It's not the best hire out there, but also isn't the worst. The Chargers, speaking of Mike McDaniel, he's been hired as the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think this is a great hire for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think massive upgrade over Greg Roman at the offensive coordinator position. Mike McDaniel did not make a very good head coach. I don't think he should get much of a shot again to be head coach, to be honest. I just don't think he's that kind of coach, but he's a very bright offensive mind. And now he gets to work with Jim Harbaugh, their head coach, of course. Very bright offensive mind. One of the best head coaches in the sport. And he gets to work with Justin Herbert, who is a way better quarterback than Tua, who we had in Miami when he was the head coach there. He was, of course, recently fired by the Miami Dolphins. Was a one pick after Tua in the draft a bunch of years ago. That's who Miami should have drafted looking back. I wouldn't be surprised if that's who McDaniel wanted. I honestly think Herbert's a better fit for McDaniel's offense than Tua is. Herbert is a much better downfield passer. I think, overall a better athlete, especially with Tua's injury concerns. I think he just fits what McDaniel wants in a quarterback and what fits his system best. So I think that's an excellent hire for the Los Angeles Chargers. And 2 head coaches have been named. The Miami Dolphins, speaking of Jeff Hafley, name him their head coach. I don't really understand this one. Kind of feeling this is the direction they were going to go. I think it was kind of obvious for a couple weeks now. Once they hired John Eric Sullivan as their GM, that's his buddy from Green Bay. He was in the back front office for a while. I think it was kind of obvious. However, this guy was recently at Boston College, was fired 3 years ago by Boston College. Was 23-26. He was 3 games under 500 in 4 years at Boston College. He lost to UConn. He lost to Northern Illinois when he was there. Now he's going to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, to where they don't have nearly the personnel defensively or offensively or anything at all that Green Bay had in his 2 years as the defensive coordinator there. Not that big deal. He's playing the Patriots and Bills 4 times a year. Coming from the NFC North this year having to play the Bears and the Lions 4 times. But this year, the Bears were a very good team, but the Vikings weren't great. The Lions weren't even great this year. They both didn't make the playoffs. Patriots are a game away from the Super Bowl. The Bills were a playoff team, at least. So I think his schedule will probably be a little bit harder. It seems like they're trying to build this team like the Packers are, hence why their regime is coming from that organization. I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm assuming they're going to move up from Tua and probably look to pursue Malik Willis for agency. I don't know with what money, because they are over the cap and have a crap ton of dead cap. How Tua's going to have a nearly $100 million dead cap charge if they let him go. Can't imagine they'll get much for him in trade value. May have to just be cut. So, not sure what they're trying to do. Maybe he's one of those tank commanders, we're going to suck next year anyway. Well, let's just bring in some schmuck, win 3 games, and get a top 3 pick. And John Eric Sullivan was like, my boy Jeff Hafley, he's a good defensive coordinator, but as a head coach, we also have that went up in Boston College. I'm like, oh, sure, bring him in. However, it's a 5-year deal, unless there's some sort of lack of guaranteed money in it that we don't know about. I think they're legitimately trying to give this guy a shot as their long-term head coach, which I don't see that ending very well at all. Granted, this was a very, very poor job, probably the worst job out there. So they weren't going to attract, a John Harbaugh. That's why they didn't even bother, hiring Chad Alexander as their GM from the Ravens, he used to work for the Ravens to try and pursue John Harbaugh. That's why they didn't really pursue Kevin Stefanski or Clint Kubiak. They just weren't going to attract a candidate like that. This is not a very good opening. I think it's the worst of 10 that end up being open. Maybe this is the best they could get, but Jeff Hafley, I don't understand the hire. However, this might not be the worst head coach hire of a cycle, because I would argue this one's worse. The Tennessee Titans have hired Robert Saleh as their head coach. Robert Saleh has the best PR of any NFL coach I have ever seen. I do not care that, he coached the Jets. Everyone sucked with the Jets. He was terrible. He's a nice guy. Very good defensive coordinator. I would take him as my defensive coordinator any day of the week. But he's not a head coach in the NFL. Just doesn't hold guys accountable. Undisciplined. The fire he shows as a coordinator does not translate to being a head coach. And he's one of those guys, a lot of these defensive guys that are just really nice gentlemen, like Matt Eberflus and Brandon Staley and Robert Saleh, that, people confuse them, you know, being likable guys and having good defenses on the teams they've been coordinators on with, oh, they know they're going to bring this culture to this new team. They're super disciplined and structured. They confuse a true culture changer with just being a nice guy. And then because a guy like Salah is so charming, so players like him, people in the media respect him, he continually gets opportunities over and over and over again. That's why as soon as the Jets fired him, everyone was like, not his fault, not his fault, not his fault. All I said was, oh, the Jets defense got a lot worse when he left. When he got the 49ers DC job, they're like, oh, he'll be head coach again in the year. Then he gets the Titans job, and they're like, oh, my problem is they're making him out to be this victim. Everyone's like, oh, well, he had Zach Wilson. He chose Zach Wilson. I know he wasn't the GM, but he could have kept Sam Darnold. It was his decision to move on from Sam Darnold and use the second overall pick on Zach Wilson. That was him. And he made Aaron Rodgers look like a literal grandpa out there. The guy a year older at 42, torn Achilles in the rearview mirror, goes to the Steelers, and looks like a completely different player. Okay? The guy was not good. By the way, Sam Darnold's offense dropped 41 on his ass in the playoffs, in the divisional round, and the Titans still hired this guy. Like, I don't understand. Like this is, again, the Mike Vrabel thing. I got to bring it back to that. So you fire him because you want an offensive mind, and Brian Callahan, who sucked. They're like, oh, we got to get the closest thing we can get to Mike Vrabel, which I thought was Robert Saleh. I don't understand. This is like, oh, can we have Mike Vrabel? Oh, we have Mike Vrabel at home, and Mike Vrabel at home is Robert Saleh. I don't think this is a good hire by at all for the Tennessee Titans. He'll probably be the 49ers defensive coordinator again in 2 years. Not gonna lie. But it will be exciting seeing him and Liam Cohen play each other twice a year after the beef they had during the season. As for who his offensive coordinator will be, by the way, he's going to call the defensive plays of Tennessee. He did not do so with the Jets. It was Jeff Ulbrich, which is probably why he shouldn't get as much credit as he got for the Jets defense being elite. So there was a rumor that came out earlier today that they're going to hire Brian Daboll as their offensive coordinator. Daboll is interested in the job, and it looks like he will probably take that job, but he is going to be interviewed, it looks like, for the Bills head coach job. Of course, he was their offensive coordinator for several seasons before taking the New York Giants head coaching position a few years ago, where he was obviously recently fired from. So the Giants the Bills are requesting to interview Daboll for now their head coach opening. But Daboll has a very strong relationship with Josh Allen and Brandon Beane, who at the time was a GM and now been promoted to GM and president of football operations. They're also requesting to interview Anthony Lynn, the Commanders' running backs coach. He was their interim offensive coordinator a bunch of years ago. Very briefly was the interim head coach when they fired Rex Ryan. I think that was after that was in 2016. Ended up becoming a head coach with the Chargers, but was very bad. But he was a player in the league for a while years ago. Was very good. Was a great running backs coach for a while. But I have his numbers with the Chargers. 2017 to 2020, 4 years with the Chargers, 33 and 31, one playoff appearance was not good enough with the roster that he had. He's been mainly a running backs coach for the last 25 years. He's an excellent running backs coach, but not a head coach at all. So I'm surprised he even got a look. Probably because he's friend of Brandon Beane. And how that guy not only kept his job but got a promotion. He must have something on Terry Pegula. Well, a lot to say in his press conference. Kind of took a lot shot at Sean McDermott and Keon Coleman. They're going to interview Lou Anarumo today, the Colts defensive coordinator. He's also been defensive coordinator with the Bengals and the Giants in the past. This year he was the defensive coordinator with Indianapolis. They have requested to interview Grant Udinski, the offensive coordinator for Jacksonville. He's already interviewed twice for the Cleveland head coach job, so he may get that job, but he's only going to be 30, and he's the Jacksonville offensive coordinator. They have requested to interview Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator. He has already interviewed for the jobs with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. He's been the Dolphins defensive coordinator the last 2 years. Before that, uh, he was the DC in Houston in 2020. Then he was I think a D line coach in Baltimore for a few years under John Harbaugh, and then he's been the DC in Miami for the last 2 years. Uh, he's a guy I'm surprised has got as much head coach as he has the last 2 years. I don't think he's that good of a coach, honestly. And they're going to interview Joe Brady, their current offensive coordinator. I think he should be the favorite for the job. The last 2.5 years or so, he's been their offensive coordinator. Has done a very good job. He should be the favorite for the job. That's who I would hire if I was the Buffalo Bills. So to finish the show off, let's recap Monday Night Raw. It started off, of course, we were in Ireland. Started off with Gunther coming out to some boos. Really wish he had some more heat. I really wish he had more heat than he did. Eventually, he was interrupted by AJ Styles. They had a very fiery promo. AJ said, I challenge you to a match at the Royal Rumble. Gunther said, I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble match. Don't want to pull double duty, so not happening. As he went to leave the ring, AJ Styles says, I think you're scared. And then Gunther said, fine, you want a rematch at the Royal Rumble. You had to put your career on the line. Of course, AJ Styles announced this will be his last year wrestling. He's going to retire at the end of this year. And then Adam Pearce met with him backstage and he was like, AJ, you don't have to do this. And then AJ said, I'm going to go call my wife. And then later in the show, he met with Pearce and said, I'm taking this match. So it'll be Gunther and AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble. So that should be really exciting. I'm imagining AJ Styles is going to win the way he ends his career at the Royal Rumble. So this feud's been really, really good. We had Becky Lynch against Maxine Dupree for the Women's Intercontinental Championship for the third time. Of course, a while back, Maxine beat her for the title. Becky won it back 2 weeks ago. And now Maxine got a rematch. Of course, Natalya, who helped train her for the match, was at ringside. And Natalya helps Becky Lynch, putting Becky's foot on the bottom rope on a pinfall, costing Maxine Dupree, and after the match, a brutal attack. So Natalya has turned heel. So we'll see. It looks like her and Dupree will feud, as Natalya, who hasn't really had a major story in wrestling in a while, looks like she will feud with Maxine Dupree. But Becky retained the Intercontinental Championship. That'll be the end of the feud for Maxine and Becky. Then we had the Vision, which is, of course, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and Bronson Reed. Braun still suspended, kayfabe suspension. A 6-man tag match against Rey Mysterio, Penta, and Dragon Lee. Very good match with Ray, Lee, and Penta winning. Those three are really, really good together. Really wish they would put Penta back with his brother Ray Fenix. That's got to happen at some point. But very good match. And then we had Rio had a promo against Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. And then those two and Raquel Rodriguez attacked Rio as they will have a women's tag team championship match at Saturday Night's main event, which is this coming Saturday. Also on that card will be Fatu against Cody Rhodes. Is also on that card as well. Then we had El Grande Americano versus Javon Evans. Unfortunately, the match had to be stopped because Javon Evans got actually injured. Supposedly, he's got some sort of concussion, but he'll be fine. And then the main event was CM Punk against Finn Balor. This was a very good match. CM Punk retains. I was hoping they would do something crazy and put the title on Finn Balor in Ireland. That entrance was incredible. The crowd was great for that match. Of course, Finn's from Ireland, so the whole point of doing the match. It was awesome. He came out to his old theme song. He's got the turd face. It's time. Hopefully this reminds a few people of how good Finn Balor truly is, and he gets a legit run now. And there's some other backstage stuff. Him screaming at Adam Pearce. He said, I guess he made Adam Pearce take that phone call, and then basically said, because remember last week he said, you put your hands on Braun first, you can't suspend him. And so he said, Adam Pearce agreed to have a face-to-face meeting with Braun Breaker next week on Raw. That was Raw. NXT was last night. We had Ethan Page against Elia Lafleur, the French superstar. Ethan Page retains the NXT North American Championship in that match. Then we had Shiloh Hill against Josh Briggs, an NXT Championship ladder match qualifier. Shiloh Hill picks up the win with Ricky Saints on commentary. And then Tony D'Angelo came out and attacked them both as he continues just his warpath for the entire roster. Then the Vanity Project, which is Jackson Drake and basically supposed to be like three frat guys, they defeated Chase U in a tag team match. Then we had Jada Parker cut up promo, then Blake Monroe interrupted her, and then Jada Parker kind of went back at her as that feud continues. Then Sean Legacy defeated Eli Knight in the NXT Championship ladder match qualifier, so Sean Legacy will be in that match. And then once again, Tony D'Angelo attacked them, but then Ava had him arrested. By the way, the poor Blake Harrow, he did the interview with what's the new guy's name, and he kind of like shoved him and didn't do the interview, and then tried to get a word out of Tony D'Angelo, couldn't, and then OTM came over and ran him over. The guy had a rough night, and then we had in the triple threat women's tag team match for the TNA Knockouts tag team title #1 contender. Zarya and Soruka won, defeating Ren QCC, which is Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray, the Evolve champion. Also beat Fatal Influence, Laney Reed and Fallon Henley. So they had the #1 contenders. You saw backstage they had they have a disagreement. Of course, there's been some tension building, on and off for a while between those two. They hugged after the match. I have a feeling they're going to break up soon. Soruka, I think, is definitely on her way to the main roster. Saturday night's main event. Cena's last match, she had a match with Bayley. She looked incredible. And Zarya is really underrated. She's fantastic in the ring, so I think both will probably be on the main roster sooner rather than later. That's all I got for you guys today. Till next time, so long. Have a great day.